listener production.
Hey, it is Antoinette Lattouf with the Weekend Briefing, and my guest today is Victoria Latu. There's so much more to her than meets the eye, or even the ear when you hear her accent, as we unpack her name, her journey, and her super fascinating career. So she was born in a region now considered Ukraine. Her mother is Russian, her father is black, and she lived in the US for some years where she interviewed stars on the red carpet for television. She came back to Australia where she is now a fashion stylist and an influencer. We talk about a bunch of things, including how she kind of had to claw her way into a role in television. We talk about the difference between fashion and style. It's a super fascinating chat. I learned so much. I also get some free fashion tips, which is handy, and I think maybe you'll appreciate them too. Later in the show, it is the weekend list, and my fabulous producer, Helen Smith, who seems to have a bit of an obsession with things that she can do to her nails, has some interesting tips to share. I have a delicious dish and why I want to join a cult, but that is later in the show. First, here's my chat with Victoria Latu. Victoria Latu, welcome to the Weekend Briefing. So you have a super interesting family and globe-trotting history. So tell me about your family origins. Where were you born and how you came to Australia?
Okay, this is a bit of a story. I don't want to say I have an interesting one because it sounds a bit like, I'm interesting to everybody, but I do. I was born in USSR, so the ex-Soviet Union. I actually was born in what is now considered the Ukraine, but which is really weird because Russian is my first language. I'm Russian Orthodox, as in I was christened in the Russian church. I know all about art, history, Russian food, because I lived there till I was 7. So that explains that my mum is Russian, from the Ukraine, Russian. So anyway, that's another story for another time. And that's how confusing my identity is. And my other half is my father is Nigerian. So I am from the Yoruba tribe, the 3 main tribes in Nigeria. There's Hausa, Igbo and Yoruba, so I'm from one of the main ones. We have our own dialect, but in Nigeria we speak English. So from 0 to 7, I lived in Russia, and from 7 till about 13 and a half, I lived in Lagos, Nigeria. And then just before I turned 14, I was just a few months before, 4 or 5 months before I turned 14, I immigrated to Australia and have been an Aussie ever since.
And yet you have this fantastic, I'm going to call it the Elle Macpherson meets Kylie Minogue accent, the I come from everywhere and nowhere accent, which I quite love.
I know. I think because I learnt English all around the place. Basically, I learned how to speak English in Nigeria because I'm one of those ESL people, English second language.
Yeah.
So I learned how to speak that. And obviously, Nigerians have their own accent. I did live in the States from about 2009 to 2011. And I was in the entertainment industry there, and I tried to kind of get rid of my Aussie/Nigerian/British leaning accent. And this is what we've ended up with.
And this is
I think
where
it's
we
still
are.
This is it. This is where we are. It's still predominantly Australian, but I do have a twang, and it's my signature, I guess.
Are you one of those annoyingly lucky and talented people who speaks multiple languages?
I don't know if it's lucky or I guess, yes, I'm lucky. I do love speaking multiple languages. I'm fluent in Russian and I speak Yoruba, which I said is the Nigerian dialect. I don't get to practice as much, so my fluency in Yoruba is not that great, but I understand completely. You know, when you speak your language, you understand what is being said to you. You understand the intricacies of the language, but I'm not fluent speaking anymore because I don't get to practice.
So you did a bit of your education in Russia, a bit of it in Nigeria, then came to Australia. At what point did you realise that fashion and styling is where you wanted to, the direction you wanted to head into?
To be honest, I fell into fashion. I wanted to be a bit like you. I wanted to be a journalist. I studied communication, majored in broadcasting. I was set for television. That's really what I wanted to do. Not acting, not any of those things. I genuinely wanted to be a communicator. I wanted to tell the news. And I think it's because my generation, I'm your age, so I'm assuming maybe like me, you were raised on Oprah.
Yes.
So I actually was like, oh, there's this Black woman on television. She has similar hair. She's so powerful, articulate. She seems to give me all these aha moments all the time. This is me, and I love to talk. I mean, seriously, I'm like, oh my God, Jesus, I have found my
And then you were like, Oprah can do it. We can do it. It's easy.
We can do it too. Yeah, I had. But the thing is, just because of how I grew up and where I came from and the leaps in of everything I saw in my life, nothing seemed impossible to me at that time. I just felt like if I come from communist Russia and I've lived in Nigeria and I came here to school and made friends and to me, everything was a possibility because I had just seen so much of everything. And I think that gave me a broad perspective on life, on the ability to do things. So I was at uni and I tried to get into the entertainment industry or at least into broadcasting. And at that point, unlike now, I think we had specifically 3 channels. I did end up working for Channel 10 years and years later, obviously, for the last 3 years. So fashion wasn't even here. I wasn't ever, because we didn't have, back then, when I say back then, I sound a bit old, don't I?
You're talking like late 90s, early 2000s? Is that what you're talking?
Early 2000s, because I came to Australia in 97. So early 2000s, it was practically impossible for somebody like me to get a job on air. It was actually practically impossible for anybody to get a job on air in Australia, let's be honest. But then looking like me was just like, are you kidding? What is happening? So we were relegated to maybe segments on MTV or VH1 or The Token. The Token was a big thing. So why I'm telling this story is I could not get I just could not, no one would put me in anything on television just because I didn't cater to anybody at that time, or at least that's what we were told.
Yes.
And so I tell this story because I was told literally that we already have one Black girl at the network. So there's possibly not another. And word for word, I didn't even take it I knew before going in, I was even telling myself that there was already a Black girl on air at the network. So chances of me having a role there was practically impossible. But to say that story, I laugh because that for some reason didn't deter me. Somebody, I don't know why it wasn't oh.
Isn't it terrible that at that point you're not surprised? You just kind of
no.
are like, well, they did, I knew my chances were slim to non-existent because they do have one Black
100%.
person on air and, well, I gave it a crack.
Yeah, that was totally exactly how I wasn't even taken aback because I was being told, I just already understood that to be true. And because there was just there wasn't any opportunity at that point at all. We had 3 networks, 3 main networks. And yes, there was ABC and SBS, but it was such a different landscape now. So I always tell people that now you can go on and start your own podcast or your YouTube channels and stuff. We didn't have that. We had so many gatekeepers.
Streaming and
there's just basically you do you, boo, at this time. That wasn't the case back then. So in one sense, it made me who I am. So, no isn't in my vocabulary. I don't understand, the whole, they told me no, so that means no. It's just, find another way, basically. So, but I understand it's my personality.
And one of the ways you did find it or perhaps contributed to it was you were told to change your surname because your surname was too complex.
Yes, but that was more me, getting all this knockbacks and not being able to get into things and all that. So I was just in my
So what's your actual
intention.
surname?
Okay, my surname, I am Victoria Tokumbo Olabuntu. So truly a Nigerian African name, which now that I say that, I'm quite proud of. But it's so funny that I really wanted to change it in an essence, like essentially to assimilate better.
Who gave you that advice?
And this is it's probably going to kill me, but it was Nick Giannopoulos. I think we were friends at one stage.
Nick Giannopoulos?
I know.
Love your Greek surname. But
he said to me I should give myself something catchier as a stage name, because I was friends with him around that time where I was trying to break into the scene and all that kind of stuff. And that was the Walk Boy era, if you remember those movies and stuff. And he was like, your latte, your chocolate latte, it's more like a stage name thing. So essentially he said Victoria Latte, but I thought, no, I think latte is a bit cheesy. So let's just change it to Latu, because there are other Latus and that seems to be all right with everybody. There are lots of Latus around.
Yes.
Not even considering that Latu is basically like Mr. Smith in
Polynesia.
like Maori,
Yeah.
in the Polynesian
world. Yes.
culture. So till this day, I get Instagram DMs like, girl, I love you. What tribe are you from? And then I'm like, well, it's a tribe in Africa, but... and having to explain that story. So no, Latu originated because Nick Giannopoulos advised me to call myself Victoria Latte because, latte, I'm latte colored. And but not,
I mean, I know he was probably trying to be helpful.
It was joking. It was helpful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's really the origin of my name. Yeah, my state. And it's stuck.
And so you've studied journalism, tried to get into TV, tried a show that didn't work because they'd reached their black person quota. So how then did you enter into fashion?
Okay, I'll tell you. So what happened was I moved to Sydney. I had a boyfriend at the time that lived in Sydney. So I moved to Sydney for better work opportunities in the media landscape. So MTV was another place. Like, obviously I could be on MTV because I'm a black girl with an afro. I know my music and my pop culture. So, oh my God, MTV is now my only chance. That's it. I could do MTV. So obviously I did all the competitions. Do you remember them? All the TV hosts,
Victoria, I don't appreciate you making us sound old. With all of these. Do you remember them? And what about this?
I know. Look, we're not that old, but we're ladies of a particular age. We're actually not old. It's just so funny how we're not at all, actually. But the leaps and bounds that our industry has made definitely makes me sound old, because these things were like, the competitions just to get on television and like the 3,000 people traveling from everywhere. Yeah. Anyway, so what happened is I moved to Sydney. I fell in love with your normal story. And my boyfriend at the time was a musician and he was going to LA. So of course, what does the heart do? The heart follows to LA. So, and I also did think there would be more opportunities for me in Los Angeles anyway. So I'm like, okay, this is a chance.
Those networks allow more than one black person on it.
Exactly. I was like, if I'm really going to, so it actually did work out. If I'm actually going to make a good go of it, I am going to go to Los Angeles and give it a crack. And it helps very much so. It's almost like, it was fated that my boyfriend at the time was also on a quest in Los Angeles. He had a record deal and all that kind of stuff. So long story short, I got to LA and it was one of the most, career-wise and personally, it was one of those experiences that I am forever grateful for. Everybody romanticizes living in LA and doing all that kind of, and it was, I have some of the experiences that I had were just quite incredible. Even to speak about them is just like, whoa, she's probably making that up. No, I wasn't. No, I'm not. But it also gave me all the work experience. So I was in Los Angeles, everybody's a performer, everybody's an artist, everyone is trying to make it in the business, and that's essentially what we did, as well as party a lot as well. But I was always in castings, auditions, and productions. I learned I basically got to being a host and a presenter and a producer. I produced segments, I worked for different production companies, I made packages. There was a red carpet opening every single night in Los Angeles, and everybody and sponsors needed to do packages. So what you would do is you would go on the red carpet production company would put you on a red carpet with a microphone to interview all the B grade, C grade, D grade celebrities that are lining up to this event just for content. Because content was just kind of starting there, and there were lots of in-style entertainment, CW entertainment, E entertainment, like different places that needed these packaging. So essentially, I did learn a lot about hosting, producing segments, how things worked in the media landscape, living those 3.5, 4 years in Los Angeles. I did gather a lot of production experience, a lot of speaking experience, a lot of hosting experience. So I honed my skills there, and I was pretty confident with that. And I say this to say that when I came back here, television still wasn't happening, and there still wasn't any opportunities for a Black Afro lady on network television at that point. So the other thing that was always cooking in the background is I was always told that I had great style. People always came up to ask me what I'm wearing, even when I was in high school, right? So I'm thinking there's another thing that I could do here, and that was when blogs were starting off. So I put this website together called Talking Shop. And it was with the intention of like, we're going to talk shop, as in have a conversation and talk what's literally in shop. Because I was also inspired by what was happening in LA at that moment. A lot of e-commerce websites were coming up, all that kind of, it was going online. So I was just going to do it all myself here in Australia. But obviously the dream was still to be on television, and things were happening at Studio 10. And they hired a lady called Tamara Simonu.
Yes,
and
a friend
she
of mine.
was, yeah. And I just happened to read this online, and I remember, and she was the producer on Canada.
Yes.
And I swear to you, the moment I read that, I just got like a knowing, and I'm like, she'll get me, because I knew how to produce segments.
Yes.
And I did everything I could to get a segment, just an appearance, and lo and behold, it happened exactly as that. I was hoping she was there, and she happened to be there. I had the segment, they called me in for a segment, and I executed. I hit all the points. I produced it to perfection, did that. And I'm like, if anything, at least she'll know this girl's got something. And she did. A few months later, she called me and offered me a job. She's like, you've got something, and forever grateful to her. But anyway, that's how I ended up in fashion on television. So I put both my skills together, basically.
Yeah. Amazing. I want to talk about how fashion has evolved over the years and throughout your career, because growing up, it was very much, if you look like Miranda Kerr and Kate Moss, all is well. And lots of the outfits were pretty much modelled on very skinny, kind of shapeless women, because that kind of went out of vogue. And what I'm seeing is it's kind of coming back, isn't it? The heroin waif kind of look and dressing that way. Or no, am I wrong?
This is a very, no, you're not wrong. I think the problem is people try to make fashion one thing or the other. And okay, first of all, there has to be a differentiation between fashion and style. So fashion, this is how I obviously talk about this conversation. So fashion is an industry. I work in the fashion industry. It breeds insecurity, or it thrives on insecurity. It thrives on trends, fast fashion, things. It's a business, basically, is what I'm saying. Style is something different. Style, great style, or when you say somebody has style can only come from great self-awareness, which means you know what you like, you know what your body looks great in, you know what you want to spend your money. So essentially, you conflate those two and treat them as one, but they're two very different things. So when we're talking style, I don't think that those things apply, like, wafer looks or curvier looks or all that, because style should be very intricate and personal. And people with great style is usually regardless of the body shape. You just say that person has great style, and you know their style instantly when you look at it. Fashion is something completely different. Fashion is an industry, and fashion is exactly what you're saying. They have trends. It's all about insecurities. It's what are we talking about? So I obviously try to differentiate them.
That's a really good point.
Try to talk.
And I hadn't really thought about it.
It is. And I think I actually think also style in the way they do kind of intersect, because style is so much intertwined personally as somebody that also did styling and worked with people and obviously gives styling advice and all that. It is kind of, it's at that intersection of like self-esteem and style, because most of the time you can, and I think that that's when it topples into fashion, if you're following what I'm saying.
Well, let's talk more about style then, because whenever I think of stylists, and look, as someone who's worked in television for many years, I had people that were network stylists who were like, wear this, do this, and that was very fortunate, and I was given clothes to wear, which I unfortunately had to give back. And so somebody did the thinking for me, but not many people interact with a stylist. Not many people either have the means or have the job in which a stylist is a requirement. So how do, and I hate to use the word regular people because that's such a patronising, how do people outside of industries where styling is part of their jobs, how do they understand their style or lean into their style or do all those things short of hiring a stylist?
Okay, so the truth is, to know style, to have great style, to work on your style, you kind of have to get to know yourself. So style is definitely not about seeing something on an influencer, and I say it like a disease, an influencer, or like a famous, it's not seeing something on a celebrity or a big social media person and going, that is for me, right? The way to extricate style from that is to go, what about that do I like? So it's not about getting that same item, because you might have a different body, or what I'm trying to say is you want to know what draws you to certain things. You want to know, to have great style, you want to get to know yourself. And sometimes to fast forward that is you want to get somebody to help you, to work with you. But essentially at the crux of that is you knowing yourself. So like I said, when you see something that you like, and it could be usually on somebody, what about it do you like? Is it, for example, if I'm wearing a floral top, do you like it because I look sexy in it, or do you like it because I look feminine in it, or do you like it because I represent extricate what it is about the essence of what you're seeing, because it's not about the top. When people do it that way, it's very fashion. You're going to get that top and it's not going to look the same on you, and you've missed the point. So what I'm saying is, like, you might like it because, wow, it made me look strong. So you want to look for something that makes you feel the same way. Do you understand what I'm saying? So
or I feel really confident wearing it.
Confident. So you want to achieve the essence of the thing and not the item itself. And sometimes you do need like a stylist to help you, to take you around the store and show you what works on your body. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I think that essentially is very important to know your body. And I know that's very difficult for women, but that is essentially one of the biggest steps in getting your style and your appearance right. You just have to look at that mirror and you have to decide, like, know your body. As a woman, as I said, like, I know we have difficult relationships. Most women do, because we go through different phases in our lives and we change and things change and all that. It's completely understandable, and you are not alone. Every woman goes through that at some point in her life, whether it's growing old, whether it's having children, whether it's going through menopause, whether it's through sickness, everything. But the thing is, you've got to know your body. So it's like, I was listening to, I think, Stacey London, I know, the old school. She was saying, you know, I'm just going to say, it's not that your body is a problem, but ignoring something doesn't make it go away. It just means that you have something you're ignoring, right? But it's rather that you acknowledge what you're working with. You kind of, oh, you know, I have big boobs, or I have a big butt, or I have a big tummy, whatever it is. And then you kind of work with it rather than try to avoid it. So to me, great style starts with knowing yourself, knowing what you like, and definitely getting in touch with your body. And when you accept that and do that first as the foundation, then styling it becomes a lot easier. And sometimes you do need a professional to help you with that. And sometimes you can very easily do it yourself when you understand that. Because at the end of the day, it just needs for you to know what you like.
Is it hard to be stylish or style conscious, as well as be conscious of fast fashion and the environmental impact, as well as being conscious of the cost of living crisis and not spending too much? I mean, do you have any tips or pointers on how you can be stylish and confident individual and not be a bit like me, who's sometimes, I'm going to admit, a bit of a jerk because I do shop on fast fashion sites because they're cheaper. It's like balancing a lot of kind of different things.
I have to say, life is about balance, and I don't think swinging the pendulum from one side to the other is actually the answer. I do think, yes, some fast fashion is, I agree, some fast fashion is quite, how can I say, it's really bad. It's what it's doing to the planet and all that. But the truth is, all fashion is like that. So I know fast fashion does more of the damage, but most of the luxury fashion isn't actually made that differently. It's all about denim or leather. The production of things is still destructive to our planet, right? It's just that fast fashion goes at a faster pace.
But there are some items like, linen and cotton, while they might use a lot of water in their production, they decompose differently to, say, synthetic, which takes hundreds of years and ends up in our waterways in landfill and things like that. So there is a difference in terms of sustainable clothing and some of the synthetic faster fashion.
True, but I actually don't like faux leather anything because essentially, and that's supposed to be more sustainable but it's plastic. It's plastic.
No, but it also doesn't last as long. So if you have leather.
And doesn't last that's what I mean. So when it comes to things like that, I would most certainly say get a nice leather bag, get some nice leather shoes, a nice leather jacket over the plastic that doesn't last.
And look after it. The last time I bought a leather jacket was 9 years ago, and I only have it and
right.
I wear it all the time.
And I wear it so that's what I'm trying to say. It's not all greenwashed things are really greenwashed. So yes, Shein, for example, needs to really go away because their practices are horrible, right? They do have some nice salads, but also some things that are more sustainable actually aren't. Like I've just explained to you with the faux leather situation. I think that's more destructive too. So it depends on what aspect. Again, you can't just paint everything with one brush. It depends on what aspect of the sustainability we are actually talking about. But it would help just in general for people to consciously spend. It will be helpful for your budget. It will be helpful for the planet. It will be helpful for everything in general to slow things down, conscious spending. And that's what I mean. I mean that if you know yourself, what you like and what you need, right, and you get your style not the fashion, the style aspect right, you will slow up on the shopping. Some fashion is my vice. I do it for a job. But every time somebody walks into my closet, they're like, oh my God, I thought you would have a lot more clothes than this. And I have quite a bit of clothes, I'm not going to say. But I could have way more than I do. But I am well aware of how I shop, what I need, what I'm lacking in my closet.
Well, that's really interesting and helpful. And I think my takeaway from this is I have no idea what my style is. I need to have a good think about it because I am probably just buying crap for reasons I can't explain, and I'd probably buy less and enjoy it more if I sat there. You know what? I think about a lot of things in the world a lot. Like I think about politics a lot. I think about human rights a lot. I think, fashion is something I don't think about.
But that's what they say. It's like you can use it a little bit as, I don't even want to encourage this as escapism because that will that pushes the consumer factor of it that I'm trying to rein in people. So the other I'm not going to label this point, but just in case anybody's listening and I could help you articulate that better, choose 3 words that you think you represent you, like 3 words, basically. I'm chic, I'm feminine, I'm strong, and you shop to those things and you don't shop outside of that to start you off, basically. It's trial and error. So you choose 3 words and that you think, not even that you think, but you want because your style is, your appearance is your representation to people that mean. So how do you want to be perceived? How do you want the world to see you? That way. It's not that serious, but just take 3 words and start there. And it will come to you from practice. So if you can't do it visually like I do, because I can look at something and be like, I like this about it, right? And that speaks to me. But some people might need to extract the words.
For strong, smart, sexy. How's that?
Strong, very. I can already give you 3 outfits that you will. I think I will give you a suit, like with a sheer top underneath. I'm trying to give you a color like that. Do you wear suits at all?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Like a suit but I also will give you like I don't know, for some reason you give me like, either because I've seen you in a bodycon dress. Yeah. And I really liked it. I'm thinking you should play that hand quite often because it's pretty good.
I'm loving that. A suit, a bodycon dress, something
right, and
sheer.
I'm like something sheer. No, I like to mix the match. So under a suit that's so masculine, I like to put like a sheer top underneath. I like to juxtapose. That's me in a nutshell. So I like that. I think that would be a great way for you to roll. I don't know,
All
just
right,
in my style.
It. I love it. I'm taking it. But for the rest of our listeners, I guess they can also have a think about 3 ways to describe their style, or look at or have a picture of a couple of people in mind when they're trying to channel what it is they want to buy, so that they're more conscious and perhaps a little less wasteful. That stylist, presenter and influencer Victoria Latu. You can find her on Instagram at Victoria Latu. And to be honest, look, I hate shopping, so I'm super chuffed that I got some handy and free styling advice, so I'm going to try it out. Ethically and sustainably, of course. It is now time for the Weekend List with Helen Smith. It's where we recommend what to watch, do, see, eat, put on your nails and everything in between. Helen, what do you have?
All right. My first recommendation is, nails, which I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with DIY at home nails.
Okay.
So I'm trying a few different options. Okay. This one that I've tried that I think I've mastered on the second go.
Yes.
It is called By Me and Crew Nails. It's like these stickers that you almost put on your nails, and then you put them under this little UV light and they go hard as a rock. But if you do them not well, like I did the first time, they look real dodge.
Yeah, okay. But they're not on at the moment. So what's happening?
They fell off.
Okay.
I think I screwed up and I showered with hot shower too soon after it. And I didn't do it well. This was the first time.
This is the first time. Okay.
But then the second time, they were good. They're off now because I pick at my nails, Antoinette.
Right. How long did they last?
They actually lasted like solidly maybe like a week and a half.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, and it was pretty quick and you can just do it while like on your bed. That's what I did.
Yeah, okay.
And I wasn't paying like to get them done $60 at a salon, and they looked really good, but I just have an issue with my nails. I pick at them, they're my thing.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yeah, but try if you want to do DIY nails, try these stick-on nails. Mm-hmm. You stick them on, you trim them to your nail, and then you just put them under this little light and they go hard.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know how it works, but it works.
Okay. And do you have to paint them on top after?
No.
Oh, they come
coloured?
coloured?
They come coloured. Okay. Like pink, or I got pink or nude.
Yeah.
Because I thought they'd go with everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's mine. What's yours?
I'm not going to try that, but I'm glad that you're enjoying it.
I like it.
Mine is a healthy butter chicken, which I make with Greek yogurt. And I haven't made it for a while, but I made it last night and it was delicious. And so it just requires chicken breast, tomato paste, yogurt, and a whole bunch of spices for the marinade, which includes turmeric, ground coriander, cumin, cinnamon, cayenne pepper, a bit of salt, a little bit of brown sugar. Anyway, so you marinate it. You pop it in the fridge for half an hour at least, if not 45 minutes. And then when you come to cook it, you cook it through with the marinade, and you add some yogurt and you add a little bit of water, and it's just divine and doesn't give you that really heavy, yucky feeling sometimes you get after eating a curry. And then a bit of steamed rice, which I do with brown rice because I'm trying to eat clean, and some veggies. I know technically you're not meant to do veggies. And then I just sprinkle the coriander, fresh coriander on top. And so pretty much most people would have, I think. Do you have turmeric and all those things in your drawer?
I'm pretty sure I do.
Oh, sorry, and garam masala, which is an Indian spice. But like
I don't have that.
all available, nothing fancy, all available at your local store and easy to prepare. And then you cook it up and you simmer it till the sauce is thick. So if you just Googled, that's how I came across it, healthy butter chicken. It's the first and highest voted recipe, and it's an absolute crowd pleaser.
Yum. I will be trying that. My second recommendation is an album. I'm going off your music Rex journey. So it is by Chappell Roan, who I'm obsessed with at the moment. The album is called The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. Now, she's an American artist, 26 years old, super like she's got this kind of like pop princess queer vibes. And my favorite songs of hers are After Midnight and Pink Pony Club. So it's really poppy, really fun, real feminist vibes as well.
I haven't heard it. Can you play a sample of your favourite tune? Oh, I like. Never heard of that artist. We'll check it out. Thanks for that recommendation. My final recommendation is joining a cult because it is not something that I have done, but it's something I'm considering.
Antoinette, you know I love cults. Talk to me.
I was watching the 7M Dancing with the Devil episode, the documentary, the docuseries on Netflix, which is about some TikTok dancers, really, really famous TikTok dancers who were brought into this church called Shekinah, and also a production company run by the church. There are some people who have since defected from the cult, inverted commas, because even what cult is difficult to determine. Anyway, it's worth a watch, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. And it's also making headlines because some of those who still remain in said cult are coming out, putting videos on their TikTok and Instagram, responding.
They're going viral.
Yeah, and responding to some of the claims in this docuseries. But as I was watching it, especially the first episode and a half, I was like, this cult kind of looks cool.
Now, we're not endorsing cults.
Well, I guess it's how you frame it, right? Like,
It is. What is a cult?
Yeah, what is a cult? And like, to begin with, I was like, these people are super fit, super talented, super hot, making a lot of money, and they go to this church. The pastor's a little bit creepy, but you know, who doesn't have a creepy colleague? And so then I was sitting there going, oh, this cult. I don't think this is the intended effect of the Netflix series.
So what has the ripple effect been of this cult? Like, are you now inspired to
actually,
cults?
Yes, I am. So I started to consider my cult options.
Yep.
And you will know that I also co-host a podcast called The Antoinettes with another woman called Antoinette. And it's kind of a comedy and commentary podcast. We are diving into cults because my co-host they've tried to recruit her. In the past, a cult's tried to recruit her, and another time a cult has targeted her, and then I am here considering my options as a cult. And also wondering why nobody has tried to recruit me. But on a serious note, we unpack who is most likely to be drawn to a cult, what are the characteristics. So that's with the Antoinettes. If you want to check that out, that's anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah, love that. And also, as this is going live today, your live show is tonight.
I know,
Saturday.
the Antoinettes. We've only been around for about 4 months. And so it's super exciting to have a live show. And I was a little bit nervous, like a bit like your birthday party. Is anybody going to come? Is anybody? But it's sold out.
So exciting.
Yeah.
I'm, oh my God, over the moon for you guys. So that is tonight.
That
if you're
is-
listening to this and going tonight.
Yeah, that is
Amazing.
tonight. But that is it for us, from us, here at The Briefing. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. If you want more of the Weekend Briefing, find us on the Listener app or wherever you get your podcast from. You can follow us there. And why not share this awesome interview with Victoria Latu to someone who you think and maybe they're a little bit daggy and need some styling advice, some free styling advice. We'll be back Monday morning where the team will have the latest headlines straight to your headphone, along with some interesting interviews. Stay safe, everyone. Catch you next week.
Listener.